Alright, I need just a second to finish getting everything set up here, and I'm gonna give people a minute to get into the channel now that I've gone live before I start talking about things. I'm gonna do something a little bit different tonight and do a stream featuring Selfless Spirit in some capacity, and I want to start with a little bit of a debrief from Worcester. But I just about got everything set up here. I just need to make a couple of quick changes and try not to laugh at my roommates who are presumably playing PUBG and trying not to die. Alright, good evening. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, and tonight I am going to be streaming some Death and Taxes, although the chat's going to help me decide what I want to stream a little bit. I know that I want to play with Selfless Spirit tonight, and I want to explain why I'm going to do so. For anyone not familiar with Selfless Spirit, it's a 2/1 flyer for 1 and a white, and you can sacrifice it to make creatures you control indestructible until the end of turn. From time to time, I chat with various D&T pilots, and last night I was chatting with Zach Cock, and he was talking about trying to find some card that would help him a little bit in the lands matchup. And he was playing the mono white build, and he was like, yeah, you know, I really like Prelate in the matchup. You know, once it's on 2, my opponent can't loam or Punishing Fire, but, you know, sometimes I have issues with something like a Barbarian Ring just taking me out of the game and getting rid of my soft block. And, you know, we were throwing ideas back and forth, and one of the cards that came up is Selfless Spirit, because that's something that can protect a lot of your creatures from the red removal. And there's a lot of red removal in the format right now. You know, the 2 most popular decks, Czech Pile and Grixis Delver, are both Lightning Bolt and red removal-based decks, more so than anything else. So Selfless Spirit has the potential to go and protect your team. In addition, it's kind of neat in that it fills a spot on the curve that otherwise is sort of relatively weak, right? You know, there aren't a lot of great 2-drop options. That's why you see a lot of D&T lists, just to pull up my Crusader list, for example. You see a lot of lists really, really heavy on 3-drops. You know, if we look at my red-white taxes list, which apparently has no cards in it now. If you look at my red-white taxes list, again, we're heavy on this 3 slot, and we have a 4-drop as well. Looking at the extra creatures in the sideboard, you know, another Recruiter, a Crusader, P and K. If we look at sort of the stock D&T deck list that I've been playing, again, a little heavy on the 3-drop slot, or we do something like Serra Avenger to fill. So tonight I'm going to play with Selfless Spirit, and I haven't decided what deck list I want to play exactly. I know that I want to feature Selfless Spirit in the flex slot, but I don't know if that means I want to play a mono white shell and sub in 2 Selfless Spirits in the place of Avenger and try that out as a way to, like, protect Crusaders and Prelates. Or I don't know if I want to go and shove them in the red-white shell in the place of, like, 2 of the Wingmares and use them to protect Magus of the Moon from Lightning Bolt. Excuse me. Because if you protect Magus from Lightning Bolt, that's basically the one card that, you know, beats a resolved Magus from a lot of these decks like Czech Pile and Grixis Delver. So chat, I'm going to let you think about that for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and, like, ask that question again 2 or 3 minutes down the line. But first I want to talk about some results. Sean Brown has a wonderful, wonderful article series called This Week in Legacy that's hosted over at MTG Goldfish. If you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend it. You know, once a week or so, he pushes out an article just kind of talking about big events from the past week. And I want to draw your attention to this chart right here, which I've blown up so it's nice and big. Hey, Millmaster, thank you very much for joining the Cult of Thalia. Praise be, you now have the opportunity to use this sweet, sweet, sweet emote that I'm throwing in the chat. I hope you enjoy it. It's super cute. Kawaii, if you're a weeb. I don't know. You might be. A lot of us are. Alright, anyway. Drawing our attention back to this chart, this is specifically the metagame breakdown for day 2. So, there's something that sticks out here. Grixis Delver took a quarter of the pie on day 2. Grixis Delver is normally the most played deck by a relatively large margin. Looking at the metagame as a whole, you know, it's usually in the low teens for its percentage, which tends to be, you know, a few percentage above everything else. Hey, I'm really glad you got to catch me live. This is one of my usual times, and as you can see below the stream here, I'll also be doing a bonus stream tomorrow night. More on that shortly. Oh, and Proto, thank you very much for resubbing. You know, it's great to have that continued support. Anyway, Grixis Delver has a quarter of the day 2 pie. That means 1 in 4 of your rounds are against Grixis Delver on day 2. So let's theoretically treat this like this is going to be your day 2 open metagame. You know, let's treat this like this is an SCG event or a Grand Prix event. And let's kind of think about what this means for your matchup percentages, contrasting the red-white build to the mono-white build. If you're playing against Grixis Delver all day, the absolute best build to play is just like a mono-white build that probably has a split between Crusaders and Avengers. If you're going to play Miracles a lot, then your red-white version is probably better because you can grind them out with P and K, but you're a little soft to back to basics if they're playing that. Against Czech Pile, the red-white build is slightly better against Czech Pile than the mono-white build. Again, P and K grinds out. So against, you know, the biggest chunk here, you want to be on mono-white. Against this chunk, you probably want to be on red-white. Then you have the mirror, you know, that's going to be kind of a wash either way. And then there's a huge chunk of Bug Delver, where both builds are very good. And then, you know, the typical amount of, like, Storm, where, like, okay, either build is going to be about the same. If you have more Hateful Flex slots in one versus the other, you might see a difference there. So, like, that's a good question, you know. Scudo's question here is, like, is the share of Bug Delver just, like, in the random metagame or, like, in the day 1 metagame anywhere close to this 25% number? And we don't have an exact answer to that. You know, it is my suspicion that, like, Grixis Delver, or especially Delver more generally, if Bug makes up another 6% of that, that Delver is, like, the most popular deck right now. I think it's kind of like the de facto best deck in Legacy, and like, certainly the most popular deck, you know, very, very clearly. So if you are making some tight choices in the final couple cards of your 75, it might be a good idea to shy towards decisions that help you beat Delver. You know, if your day 2 metagame is combined 31% Delver, and, you know, maybe 1% of this pie is also something like Rug Delver as well. And, you know, like, we have blue-red Delver at, like, another 3% as well. You know, that might be, you know, somewhere between, like, 33 and 35% of a day 2 metagame being Delver, which is crazy. You might have noticed that, like, more and more I've been incrementing the number of Path to Exiles I've been playing in my decks. This is part of the reason why. Like, the Delver decks are just everywhere right now, and they're very clearly the deck to beat. So make sure you know what you're doing against Delver, and that you're also doing something to hedge against your control decks. That's about all I have to say about this. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. For anyone who didn't see it, the Mulligan article is now up. I have just created it as a page. It's under Playing the Deck on ThrabenU University. And right away, sort of like after the introduction, there is a link where you can get to the survey results. You can both see the various bar graphs of how people answered and scroll through, you know, tons and tons and tons and tons of different responses. Not everyone wrote out the responses to each hand, I had 210 different people take the survey, but there is a lot of data there to be had if you're interested in this sort of thing. So again, that is up on Thraben University now. In the matchups tab, I also added a Steel Stompy matchup, or that is sort of that new affinity deck that's been running around. All right, so returning back to the question of the night, do I want to try out Selfless Spirit in a mono-white deck list in the place of Sarah Avenger, so that we'd run something like this in that slot, you know, like we'd go like -2 Avenger plus 2 Selfless Spirit in order to try that out. And in this shell, it would be doing things like protecting Mirran Crusaders. Or do we want to try it out in the red-white shell in the place of 2 of the Wingmares as a way to protect Magus of the Moon? Is Steel Stompy still a thing? It is picking up a handful of finishes at events. It picked up a finish at the 1K, and then another finish, and I think in the weekend that followed, and a handful of the results got published in one of the things WotC pushed out. I don't remember if it was like Legacy Challenges or 5-0s from leagues, but it has showed up in a few places. All right, chat. If you have an opinion on whether we shove Selfless Spirit into red-white or mono-white, this is your time to vote. Throw your answers in the chat. I'll give you a minute here before I make an impulse decision. While you're typing and while I'm waiting for this message to catch up, I want to go ahead and thank a couple of donors. I wanted to thank Leah M. for her donation. That was her second donation to the stream, I believe. That was much appreciated. Thank you for your continued support. And I also wanted to thank William S. He specifically wanted to donate to see me do another Sarah Avenger stream. So I will be doing that tomorrow night at about the usual time, 7 o'clock Eastern. All right, so people are saying red-white, huh? Red-white spirits. All right. So red-white taxes with spirit. Spirit feels like this deck box to me. The answer is clearly red-white because it's more awesome. All right, I'm in for that. Red-white wins. All right, Nsep Top says, what needs to be done to get Tundras and Spellquellers alongside these spirits? Ooh, that's spicy. Good question. I gave Card Hoarder my details today. Their person who runs that department is now back from vacation, so I will be gaining the ability to access my bot account or my ability to borrow, you know, however exactly that works, however we want to phrase that, within the next few days, and then that's something that's viable. Phil, are we bringing Path to Exile in for the Pile matchups as well? No, actually, in the Czech Pile matchups, we usually board out our spot removal. So I usually trim Swords to Plowshares almost completely or take it entirely out. So I don't even bring in Path to Exile there. All right, so Selfless Spirit, get in here. Tuvrin Wingmare, get out of here. Does this make me want to have any other changes to the deck list? Let me think about that for a quick moment. Selfless Spirit is not a human, so that would be one card that I can't cast off of a Cavern of Souls. So there is some chance I want to adjust the mana base slightly and only go down to 2 caverns. It's probably still fine, though. If I make this change, Then I have Selfless Spirit, Flicker Wisp, and Wingmare, and Stoneforge that all don't get cast off of Cavern. That may be enough. Do I have a fourth plateau? Don't have a fourth plateau. The fourth plateau might be acceptable. I can also just, like, accept that every once in a while I won't be able to cast a spirit. Since these were Wingmares before, it's not like the mana really got all that worse, right? Like, the only difference is, like, instead of occasionally having to put it on Pegasus, I might occasionally have to put it on Spirit. A basic Plains is always good. Yeah, but we have the red-red to consider for P and K. So maybe at this point, this is where we drop a couple of percentage points to combo, and we pull the Wingmare, move the Crusader to the main deck, and then play one more card in the sideboard that's good against combo decks. I think I like that. That makes our mana very, very marginally easier, assuming that Cavern ends up on humans. This configuration will probably be really annoying for Czech Pile to play against, too, because, like, Selfless Spirit also backing up Mirror Crusader seems pretty good as well. Alright, chat, so what do we want to play to make the deck slightly better against combo in the sideboard? I don't think I want to run, like, a fourth Rest in Peace. That's too much in that direction. I could just shove a Wingmare in the sideboard. I could shove in another Canonist. Do I have another Canonist? Don't have another Canonist. Don't hate the Wingmare in the sideboard. I could also just play Revoker 3 for when Revoker is actually good. Or a Pithing Needle. Or I could just, like, double down on the fair matchups and, like, just shove the, like, Sword of War and Peace in here, because that card's always great. You could also get greedy with this list and play the Orzhov Pontiff. That's a total fucking scumbag and never castable. But that's not really helping the combo matchup that we just dropped a few percentage points to. Dodge combo, play Hikori. I don't think Hikori fits in with the Selfless. We're not playing Hikori tonight, but someone will donate and convince me to play Hikori at some point. I am 100% sure of that. If we want Spirit to help with lands, is there anything in the side now we wouldn't be bringing in because of it? So, like, against lands, we've got the Rest in Peace, some number of Path to Exile, potentially Cataclysm, Recruiter, Relic Order, and another Revoker. So this would probably patch up the lands matchup quite a bit. Red-White Spirits, let go! Yeah, that's about the position I'm in. This Revoker in the sideboard might be a little bit loose. But, like, it's a card that's generically good against combo decks, from Reanimator to Ant to Sneak and Shell. So it's probably fine. Let's ship this. I like this. Get ready for a donation stream with Hikori soon. Absolutely. If you are seriously interested in funding that, the details are below the chat. Make sure that you, when you make your donation, you make it clear that that is what it is for. Alright, red-white taxes with Spirit. Why play Stoneforge Mystic when we can tail a Wisp? Great question. Great question. Oh, what I mean is that we don't... I see, Proto. So I still like Cataclysm for Czech Pile and Miracles. So I don't know that I want to pull that completely. I would like to play first. Hand is fair, but solid. See if I have data on my opponent. I don't recognize the name. Looks like my opponent is likely playing Miracles. Oh, Prelate. Prelate would have been a good one. If my opponent is playing Miracles, this is not a great hand versus Miracles. But this is a solid hand if they are not actually Miracles. Super glad I didn't mulligan. Alright. Never punished for bad decisions, ever. I love this deck. I love this deck, chat. They've got an island. Hope they have a lightning bolt. Moonman emote when? Somebody is actually working on that. They sent me a draft of the, Oh god. Oh god. Oh no. I'm not happy anymore. We're playing against Food Chain. What's in exile here? They do have the Eternal Scourge. Sorry, to finish that thought, someone is working on a Moonman emote. It is coming soon to a theater near you. Until I hit Twitch partner status, that might be like a $10 subscriber emote. And as soon as I hit partner status, I'll just move that to regular tier. Yeah, we added that Revoker in the sideboard, thankfully. Griffin Tribal. Fuck. Naturally second island to start casting these fucking griffins? Fuck. Oh, that's so bad. Wait, why did they not cast a griffin? Isn't just, like, casting griffin strictly better, right? Do they just have, like, something stupid like Spell Pierce? I guess they must. I can't play an equipped sword, like, in any capacity due to my own Thalia. God, we're probably just gonna get, like, fucking comboed off through Magus and Thalia. Oh, I solved the puzzle. My opponent probably has Force of Will. So they have Force of Will, and they're holding up 1 mana to pay for the Thalia tax. That's why they did Eternal Scourge over Griffin. Took me a little while to figure that out. Sorry, chat. That was obvious. And there's that fucking Griffin. Coming in to ruin my life. We have to deal with this forever. So here's a nice trick. Let's read Eternal Scourge. When Eternal Scourge becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, exile Eternal Scourge. Goodbye. I'm fine with taking one for the Baleful Strix. I'd rather keep extra Jitte counters around. My life total is not in immediate danger. I need to start sending these griffins to the graveyard before they just, like, wreck me. So notice once again my opponent, like, conspicuously has 1 mana untapped. You know, again, I still think they have Force of Will. So I can make an attack in with both of my creatures here since Thalia has First Strike. I still have 1 Jitte counter left. So after First Strike damage, if my opponent blocks with Magus, I can double shrink Mist Hollow Griffin. And someone in the chat just said the exact same thing I did. Good job, person in chat. You know what's going on. Dr. Bill. Disgusting value on our end. Awesome. And now I have to decide whether or not I want to, like, just play this Stoneforge or whether I want to play the Aether Vial. Either way, like, whatever I play probably just gets countered. Keeping that in mind, I probably just want to play the Aether Vial. I've got things under control in the short term. Long term, I might have some issues. Long term, this card's great if it resolves. I don't think it will. I think this is going to be like a Force of Will pitching another Griffin. Nope. Ponder away, sir. Or madam. Maybe Madam Freyundla. Ends in A. Could be a feminine ending in some language. Hello, Eternal Scourge. Welcome back. Opponent shuffled with the Ponder, by the way, for anyone wondering in chat. Kind of want to get aggressive here. Swords to Plowshares the Baleful Strix. Use the Jitte counter to remove Eternal Scourge, and then bash in for 4 while my opponent has an empty board. I can play more patiently than that, but Swords to Plowshares doesn't have a lot of utility in this matchup, so just, like, throwing it at something is probably fine. Opponent desperately digging. Trying to find something sweet to do, and they scoop it up. We're really lucky to steal game 1 versus Food Chain. Game 1's pretty difficult. We're also lucky to steal a win with Magus there. My opponent's deck probably has something like 5 different basics in it. They can fetch out basics very, very aggressively. Alright, so game 1, win with Magus and Thalia. Or I should like attribute to all 3 cards. Magus, Thalia, and Jete. We'll be on the draw for the next one. Revoker's great. We'll probably bring in P and K. We'll bring in Canonist. Consider Rest in Peace, but probably don't bring it in. Bring in Relic Order. Bring in Recruiter. Board out Swords to Plowshares. It has very few like actually good targets. And we'll board out Magus of the Moon. I know we got my opponent there. I know we got them that time, but that is not going to be the norm in this matchup. On like turns 1, 2, and 3, if my opponent has fetch lands, they can fetch out basics with almost no detriment to their game plan. So the best Magus can hope to do is like keep them off of blue for like the Griffin itself. And that's fine, that's a thing, but I think that as a whole, Magus is going to be weak. If my opponent's deck is already good at playing around Magus and Wasteland, and if they already like know that I have Magus and got hosed by it in game 1. My opponent's also more likely to like hold up Abrupt Decay at certain times in order to like play around a Magus. So we can make them play around the card like without having it in our deck. So like we'll get some benefit of like the Magus scare. The reason I'm bringing in P and K is just to like create an army of chump blocking tokens for Griffins, because like that matters. They've got really good endgame inevitability versus us. Well, this is unplayable. This is fine. It is not Flicker Wisp time yet. The red scare. I like that. That's really cute. So, if this mob makes it around the table, we do get a decent amount of hate with a really good amount of protection. Yeah, so like consider if we had left Magus in the deck. You know, what happens? We just kind of do nothing with it. My opponent already has all 3 of their colors. Night Scoot Up. It was my plan to just revoke Food Chain. If my opponent goes Food Chain and has Eternal Scourge, they can just go off. If they have food, like if they have land and Griffin, they can also just go off. If I revoke Deathrite Shaman and they have Food Chain Scourge, they can still just go off. So I have to decide how risky I want to be this turn. Like, the obvious onboard play is revoke Deathrite Shaman, but the better long-term play is revoke Food Chain. It's complicated by the fact that I have this Relic Order. The Relic Order makes me inclined to just revoke Deathrite, Hope they don't have Scourge. If they jam Food Chain, then I Relic Order it. But there's some degree of risk there. My hand's slow and doesn't have a ton of closing power. So, like... I'm gonna make the onboard play. The reason I'm doing this is that a lot of times in the post-sideboard games, they'll just try to play a, like, bug mid-range game plan and trim on the number of actual food chains that they have. So keeping that in mind, I probably just want to cut them on mana a little bit. You always get Sword of Fire and Ice first in this matchup because it helps you push through Griffins. Bleh. Alright. We'll just play around my Stoneforge getting Fatal Pushed this turn. The contents of my opponent's hand will probably dictate whether or not they take the Sword of Fire and Ice or whether they take the Leonin Relic Order. I expect the Sword of Fire and Ice to go the way of the dodo here. Yes, it is Ramune. Ramune, a delicious Japanese flavored drink with a fucking marble inside. Alright, opponent took the Stoneforge there. We go ahead and fetch Plateau here since we don't have Magus in the deck, but we do have P and K in the deck. So we'll go ahead and play out the Selfless Spirit. Hold up an activation for Sword of Fire and Ice. I feel like my opponent has an Abrupt Decay. Since they took that backup Stoneforge. Alright, here's the food chain. Do you have the kill with the final card in your hand? You do not. I'm going to take the higher upside play here of Equip the Spirit rather than the Stoneforge. Alright, you Abrupticate the Sword. That's fine. You're out of cards. You'll trade your Baleful Strix for my Selfless Spirit. That's also fine. I don't know why you take this line if I just get to now nug your food chain. This gives you fewer opportunities to just like top deck, like manipulate fate or something like that, and just absolutely go ham. Geez, that's a great draw. I can play out the Selfless Spirit now. Stoneforge, get Batterskull, put Batterskull in on the following turn. And I think just having protection for the Relic Warder is more important than increasing my clock. And I'm not going to make any attacks this turn. I don't want my opponent like double blocking with Deathrite Shaman, forcing me to blow the Spirit early. I will go ahead and expose this to removal. And I'm going to go ahead and get Batterskull. I'm not bottlenecking my opponent on mana since they have 5 lands and 2 Deathrites. So I don't need to like try to attack the Deathrites with Jitte. So I want the Batterskull because it's bigger than a top-decked Griffin or Eternal Scourge. It is worse against a top-decked Baleful Strix, but whatever. Alright, alright. I don't have great offense here, but my offense becomes much better the next turn. What's my creature count in graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures in graveyards. 1, 2, 3, 4 spells in graveyard. So Deathrites are going to run out of food eventually. And I'm just going to wasteland this Underground Sea so that my opponent can't, like, immediately turn around and start doming me with, like, double Deathrite. Like, opponent is winning the race on board. And I'm not willing to trade Spirit for Strix here. Opponent shuffled, ended up with a land. That's great. This is probably the point where I start getting more aggressive and I like send the team in and just accept that some of my creatures might die. If if I just like send everyone in, then my opponent could like double block a Stoneforge to get rid of a Stoneforge, or like double block Relic Warder to get rid of that, and then trade Strix for one other one. And then they're down to like one creature left on board, and I have a whole bunch of idiots. Does this backfire in any way? Because like otherwise I'm just attacking for 4. My opponent trades Canonist for Strix. I guess I'm not in any immediate danger, so like I don't have to start doing that yet. I'm going to hold this land. And very possibly make my next spell uncounterable no matter what. So that's the end of the creatures. They are no longer gaining life. They are now on Drain Me with Deathrite. If I send everyone in, my opponent could could block like both Relic Warder and Canonist in an attempt to like reasonably go off. But if they do that, I just sack the Spirit and like try to get them. I can probably make my all-in attack starting now. I've drawn one too many lands, and I feel like their hand's kind of weak. So I'm going for it. So my opponent will take 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 as is. And I'll trade for the Strix and lose a Stoneforge. That's probably all fine to me. I accept this. Probably should have done this wasteland prior to attacks, so that my opponent just can't like use this green mana to just eat things. Diabolic Edict. I will sacrifice a Stoneforge Mystic. I think I'm okay with losing the Spirit at this point. Like, if my opponent had any of the creatures that comboed with Food Chain, they already would have played it out, right? What the hell do they need this much mana for that they need to tap these Death Rites? Or is it just going to be something like a Deluge? Okay. Ballista's a really good top deck. And is most certainly a top deck because if my opponent had it before, they just would have, like, played it out. Because, like, they can just ping the Spirit for one, go to the next turn, and then just start mowing things down. Alright, that's a great draw that protects the Thalia, but my opponent will get to, like, tick up Ballista, kill a person, and like, if they draw a land, they can tick up Ballista twice, get both of these. I also can't really attack into the Ballista this turn. Because my opponent will just, like, block, take 4, kill one of my guys, kill the remaining 2. So I'm stuck on defensive duty right now. Need to draw a Revoker for that ASAP. Also, Stone Cold Dead to my opponent having one of the recursive threats because they, like... Alright, I don't really care about that Leovold. Can keep that in check with Caracas. Okay, this forces action. I don't think I need to make this uncounterable. Like, my opponent only has 1 card. Food Chain doesn't play any weird counterspells other than, like, Force of Will. So I cast Flickerless. Flickerless resolves, target walking Ballista. Ballista shoots down Relic Warder and probably grows and shoots down Canonist as well. Actually, maybe I do want to make this uncounterable. So I make it uncounterable. Caracas Leovold, cast it. That way I can bounce Walking Ballista without, like, giving them an extra card, so to speak. Oh shit, my clock's really low. Alright, very much not favored to win this game. That does something. That was a poor attack. I'm moving quickly to try to see whether or not my opponent can close out this game. I probably should have, like, not attacked there and just, like, plan on P and K. But at the same time, it gets rid of a death right so that they can only gain so much life a turn, and I might be able to, like, actually race that. So my opponent's going to have a board of Griffin, Scourge, Leovold, Deathrite. Can I beat that with P and K hucking tokens at them? If I draw a land, I can for them. I can attack for 2, for them. They'll draw infinite cards with Leovold while doing so. The P and K is not uncounterable. Should I just scoop this one up for clock? I guess I'm F6'd right now, so I can just see what my opponent does. So I kind of regret the Canonist attack, but I don't regret it that much. Because if I don't make the Canonist attack, then my opponent just goes drain me with Deathrite Shaman. Drain me with Deathrite Shaman. Attack with Leovold, I have to give them a card. Then I play P and K. They drain me, attack with Leovold, I have to give them a card. Then I drop defenses on P and K. Maybe the attack was fine. Unsure. Alright, P and K is not beating that. But I kind of want to see if they have, like, a Ballista to just kill me for giggles. Because they're going up to, like, a large amount of mana, which makes me think that they just have, like, Ballista, and they're going to burn me out. Nope, nope, just Scourge. Yeah, I'll just concede this. With just 3 minutes on the clock, I don't think this is a P and K game. I think I'm gonna play either like 2 Swords to Plowshares for Deathrite Shaman and Baleful Strix, or play Magus. Like I wanted to like try to close the game with early aggro. Farish, I needed to close the game. Like we have 3 minutes on the clock. Like my current line for closing the game was like get P and K, attack for 2, huck tokens at their face or at Deathbridge Shamans, and repeat. Yeah, I think I'd put in Magus and try to like mise a win with that. I would like to play first. I would like to keep. My opponent just F6 through their entire turn, so that's great for me. And now we get to play Magus before there are lands in the graveyard. That's pretty strong. Alright, the opponent gets to play Magic in some capacity. Alright, Manipulate Fate can find an Eternal Scourge. That's fine. I'm going to shut off this stop on my opponent's upkeep just to shave off a couple of seconds. Technically, correct play is to move the sword to somewhere else, but that doesn't really matter. Alright, and we have 22 seconds left as usual. Gonna update my spreadsheet here real quick. Oh, hello, other Gallagher. How are you? How's Ant treating? Or excuse me, how's Tess treating you? All right, so let's talk about that matchup a little bit. I know I didn't talk much about like the last minute or two of gameplay there. So Magus on the play mised my opponent. That is sort of the TLDR of that match there. Very lucky to have the Revoker. Otherwise, the Ballistas would have absolutely taken over the game. My opponent would have been able to fetch, and, you know, that's it. I'm done. Opponent probably should have used a Ballista to kill the Thalia with the initial Revoker on the stack. That probably messed with them a little bit down the line, so I think that was an error on their end. But I bet they were thinking, you know, like, hey, I can eventually discard a land in order to go and, like, make a colored mana with Deathrite if I don't draw anything. But I think Thalia's tax and pressure over a few turns messed with them more. I would also argue turn 1 F6 1. Great point. Great point. Forgot about that. That was a weird one. I think I just like played land in F6 so quickly that my opponent hit F6 thinking they were F6ing through my turn and just F6 through their own turn. Because Moto's a quality program. For anyone who wasn't here at the beginning of the stream, hello, my name's Phil Gallagher. We're streaming Red, White, Death, and Taxes with Selfless Spirits in the Flex slots tonight. And it was actually pretty good in that last round. It was really, really interesting, at least. Zach Cock and I were talking, and we were trying to decide whether or not we wanted to, like, try out something in the Flex slots that might be a little bit better against land. He was thinking about the mono white build, but I think Selfless Spirit protecting Magus of the Moon sounds pretty sweet as well. Oh, gross. That is a rough local metagame. Like 5 Reanimator. That's brutal. At that point, I think I'd want to be on like a surgical Snapcaster surgical deck, being completely honest with you. BG G88. Looks like my opponent has played like Loam, Dredge, Turbo Depths in the past. I'm gonna play a draw. I'm on the draw with a 1-land Aether Vial hand with 2 pieces of equipment. This is pretty weak. Does my own spreadsheet have any data against them? My own spreadsheet does not. I think this one has to go back. Like, I need multiple lands. If I draw a white source, so I play Jitte on turn 2. My first creature currently is like Magus coming in on turn 4, and that's like not good enough. Yeah, I need to shift this one. This hand is maybe great or terrible. We'll find out. Opponent mulled to 5. I'll keep my 6. I'm going to assume that they're playing some sort of combo deck if they've mulled down this much. Oh, opponent mulled to 3. Or, sorry, mulled to 4. Do I want Selfless Spirit? So I think my opponent is probably playing something like Dredge or Reanimator or something of that ilk. If they're going to like mull that aggressively. So this is probably not where I want to be. But it protecting Thalia is probably fine. Like, it's an aggressive 2-drop card. It can help close the game. I'm gonna top it since it's an aggressive card. Hey, Coco Lopez, thanks for stopping by. We're playing with Selfless Spirit. We'll see if it's good. My opponent is probably thinking, do I want to show any cards or do I just want to concede? City of Traders. Spirit Guide. Fuck! Alright. Alright. Let's draw a Plains. That's alright. So we have 3 Plains to hit, we have 3 Revokers to hit, we have 4 Vials to hit, we have P and K to hit, we have Magus of the Moon to hit. This is okay. I know this looks bad, chat, but it's not that bad. Why do you think my opponent's ghosting? My opponent mulled, reluctantly keep a hand, scry a card, produce a turn 1 Blood Moon, which is what their deck is supposed to do. Alright, they have Rebels. That'll end the game real quick. Oh, sorry. I enjoyed that a bit too much. So I don't think I want to offer my body of P and K for Goblin Rabblemaster. I think I just want to shoot Rabblemaster directly. This way I get to attack for 3. I'll discard Athalia. Hot diggity dog! For each, I just clicked too quickly. That's why I didn't. Opponent playing kind of slowly, not sure what's up on their end. So unless my opponent has Spirit Guide, I'm not in danger of a 4-drop yet. So I don't need to, like, play around Fiery Confluence just yet. I kind of want to go Stoneforge, play Sword of Fire. Oh, no, I can't do that this turn. I could do, like, Stoneforge, Slam Jitte. I could just play out Selfless Spirit to protect from a Fiery Confluence. Yeah, they could be streaming too. I think I like getting the Spirit out there. I don't want to lose multiple bodies to Fiery Confluence. The nice thing is that if my opponent draws a Chandra, I can go Recruiter for Revoker, Revoke, and then just deal with it. Oh, they're double queued? Okay. It's annoying. I think it's really disrespectful to your opponents to double queue. Like, it's a waste of everyone's time. All right, chat. Looks like this round is going to take like for fucking ever because my opponent is double queuing. So if you have questions for me, let's treat this like a Q&A time. What's our record and how does Spirit look? We won our first round, so we are undefeated. Let's look at it that way. We are currently undefeated with this build. Spirit is looking good so far. I won't say that Spirit is like amazing or anything, but it's been doing interesting things, and it is an aggressive 2-1 body. That's all fine to me. No, first match with Food Chain went, 20 seconds away from me going to time before I finally won. How did we take Food Chain out? With Magus of the Moon. Yes, Millmaster, 100% start by learning to play mono-white before transitioning to red-white. Red-white is significantly harder to play. In addition to just, sequencing your cards, you also have to sequence your lands much more carefully. It matters a lot, the order in which you fetch and run out your lands for things like Stifle, Wasteland, hiding the fact that you might be on red-white, that sort of stuff. So 100% start with red-white. I have a lot of red-white deck list recommendations up on Thraben University if you're curious about that sort of thing. Do I have lethal this turn? Alright, so if I use Stoneforge Mystic, put in Sword, equip Sword on P and K, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, assuming they chump block with Thalia. So yes, I do. Oh wait, no I don't. I have 8, sorry. I counted my sword trigger twice. Opponent should have absolutely 0 outs to my board now. Even if they played something like an Ensnaring Bridge, I could just huck Aether Vial or a Sword at their face to finish them off. Alright, so we're playing against Red Prison. We're on the play, right? No, we were on the draw, but my opponent did nothing the first turn. So we were on the draw, and we win versus BGG 88. Game 1, win with... I guess just win with aggro after opponent mulls. Not an exciting match of Magic. Alright. Revoker in P and K. in, Relic Order, Recruiter in, Cataclysm probably in. Magus of the Moon definitely out. This is not Crusader's best matchup. That can go. My opponent showed us they're on a pretty aggressive like Goblin Rival Master build, and they also have P and Ks, so I probably want to keep in at least some number of the Swords to Plowshares. Maybe I don't Cataclysm, and I just played this. But Cataclysm is so good against the Planeswalkers. So good against the Planeswalkers. Especially just like being on the draw, being able to just like slam Cataclysm and get back into the game if I'm like locked out under a bunch of like artifact bullshit and multiple enchantments. That can be important. I haven't tested Cataclysm a lot in this matchup. Like, conceptually, I like it. But I think I'm fine. I could have boarded out a piece of equipment. This is a good hand against a creature-based start or a non-turn 1 Blood Moon start, and it has an Ether Vial, so I'm keeping this. Set that stop on my opponent's turn again. Trinisphere. Alright. So fun fact about lands in this matchup, you just fetch out planes very aggressively. You don't want to just like lead on basic planes and then have them Blood Moon. Chandra. Alright. Well, that's bad. Alright, opponent's playing Sulfur Elementals. That's really good to know for Game 3. Which we're, you know, almost certainly going to. It's really unfortunate. The Chandra is probably going to ultimate before I have much to say about that. Alright, so current game plan is play Ether Vial now. Chandra ticks up to 7. Next turn, use Flicker Wisp, reset Chandra's loyalty, and like start working in that direction. Opponent needs to play out another card so that I can't attack the Chandra. That should be pretty easy. They have a bunch of mana. Oh, P&K. This is great. Alright, there are basically no circumstances in which I get out of this now. So I guess I can swords P&K. I could swords Moonman, bounce P&K. Eh? 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 Oh yeah, there's selfless spirits in here. Not doing a ton right now, though. It's been doing work too. It's not just, you know, in here entirely for like meme purposes or anything like that, you know. We played around against Food Chain where it was pretty essential to our wins. Second bridge. Alright, this is a pretty safe concession point. But I'm going to play out for one more draw. Alright, that's fine. Like, at this point, we get attack for 2 in the air, we get Chandra plussed, and then, like, we're just dead to the emblem. You know, even something like a Flicker Wisp isn't going to do it here. So, just to, like, pull this up, I guess that made it worse. Here is the deck list while I go and adjust the spreadsheet here. Alright, so we're on the draw for that one, and we lost. So, game 2, lost to turn 1, Trinisphere. You know, that was the sort of game where if we had the Cataclysm over the Swords of Plowshares, it would have been very, very good. But with my opponent opening on the Trinisphere and getting so far ahead, it was rough. Yeah, so I wonder if it does enough against lands. Like having it and Mom as backup versus lands seems super sweet, and like I know you were talking about doing it with a mono white build, but in this build I can use it to defend Magus, which seems awesome. I'm still not 100% how I feel about these Cataclysms versus Swords to Plowshares. Like, my opponent showed us a lot of creatures, so I need to keep some in. I guess I could trim the Stoneforge package a touch and go, like, -1 Stoneforge, -1 Batterskull, keep Jitte, and then play both Cataclysms. I like that. This is not a strong hand for the matchup, but I have the ability to get 2 basics early on and lead Mom into Stoneforge with P&K as backup if something goes wrong with Blood Moon, and a Wasteland for the first Soul Land. This is not optimal, but I'm going to keep it. Yeah, like either way, it's protect the queen, right? No attack with Mom there. We want to play around a 2-drop removal spell like a Braid. Alright, and Snaring Bridge. So we'll just attack my opponent's mana here, and then plan on, using the Stoneforge to dump in this sword, and then hopefully strand opponent's cards in hand with Rashat and Port. Is that a Glorybringer? No, Goblin Rattle Master. This feels like it's going to be like an Abrade or a Sulfur Elemental to wreck me. This might be useful a few turns down the line. Kind of want to play patiently here and just Recruiter for Relic Warder to Relic Warder out the bridge. Like, my opponent either has a Braid or Sulfur Elemental here. Like, they've got to have something. Yeah, there's a delay for chat. So we're just gonna attack in. We'll get our 1. And I'll probably see either an end of turn Abrade or Sulfur Elemental. Alright, so opponent either has Stone Cold Nothing or is just, like, really laying it on thick, trying to get a ton of value. I'm gonna fetch a Plateau with this to leave a basic in the deck. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what my opponent has and like how to best play around it. I think it's equip Stoneforge, plan on porting them. This plays around like just like Sulfur Elemental flashing in. Can't be countered. 2 damage to each creature in each player. Okay. But I want this in play to set myself up to Cataclysm and make a land drop next turn. Blood Moon, yes. Or maybe not Cataclysm. I can now use my mana very, very efficiently, right? I can just have my opponent dead in 2 attacks. I can Relic Warder or Flicker Wisp out bridge, crash in for 5. Do the other one the following turn, crash in for the final 5. That might be better than just... Because if I Cataclysm, I keep Vile, Plains, Stoneforge, attack for 1, put them to 9. They keep Mountain, Bridge, Moon. I tick Vile up next turn, Relic Warder, Bridge, bash in for 1 again. I think I'm pretty safe. Okay. So now I think I just go ahead and Cataclysm, float 1 mana, keep Flicker Wisp Plains Vile, then put in Relic Warder, attack, and we should be done. We prefer the Warder first because it doesn't lose to a second bridge. Okay, that's fair. I agree with that. Opponent says, well, GG's, way to have it all. Alright, the opponent just concedes. Alright. So we're on the play there and we win. Game 3 win with Cataclysm and aggressive hand. Alright, good stuff. So we're currently 2-0 with our Selfless Spirit build. Yeah, so I think that was a case where all my lines are like 90% plus to win, and each one is just going to play around slightly different things. Like playing the Relic Warder is kind of first if they have like a spot removal spell to put the bridge back in play. Then at my beginning of combat, they can go and like kill the Relic Warder with something like a Sudden Shock or a Volcanic Fallout, and like then they survive another turn. But like doing it the other way, where like I do the Flicker Wisp first, is less good against second bridge. But like that still doesn't matter that much because I'll get to like Cataclysm them, and then a couple turns down the line, I just do the last couple of points of damage with like PNK throwing. Yeah, right. Like when you play Red Prison, the metaphor that I heard was like you sit down and you throw your junk on the table and say, "Hey, do you have a hammer to deal with this?" Because if you don't, you're dead. Like that's playing Red Prison. You know, there's a little more wiggle room than that. There's a little bit of game there, but you know, Red Prison is one of those decks where like you can't be mad when your opponent has the force. You can't be mad when your opponent has it, because you get most of your wins to your opponent not having it. I love Red Prison. Once my my card hoarder account is all good to go, I'll probably stream a few leagues with it. I'm looking forward to playing that deck. I haven't played it in paper in a few months. It's all really, really well positioned right now. Ooh, this is a fun one, chat. Chat, while I'm updating my spreadsheet, tell me what you think about this hand. Is this a keep? So on the play versus Delta, period, 3000, period. I don't have any data on my opponent. Obviously, it's a keep. Hand's great. Super awkward if we get wastelanded off this white source, but whatever. We have triple wasteland. We are just, like, plowing any fair deck into the ground here. Fuck. Don't be elves. Please don't be elves. We're gonna get Jitte, assuming that it's elves, and that my luck has run out. I'll be pleasantly surprised if it isn't, but Natural Forest into Deathrite Shaman. How big of a bully is opponent? We'll find out. Smells like elves. We're dead. Alright. So our record is now 2-1. We're gonna lose this round. We'll try, but we're pretty dead. We have the best possible fighting chance that we can. We're gonna get to wasteland this bayou, put in Jitte, protect Stoneforge from green, bash in with Jitte. We're on the play. We'll probably still die somehow. Alright. So now we're in this awkward position where I can't really wasteland them because there's no lands in the graveyard for Deathrite Shaman, and Wirewood, if I wasteland, that puts 2 lands into the graveyard, and untapping Deathrite Shaman would actually accelerate them in terms of mana production. So I don't wasteland here. Instead, I just play Selfless Spirit, so I get a flyer, and attack for 1 with Stoneforge Mystic. Chin up, Gallagher, we can get this clown. Yeah, we can do it. Power of friendship. We're 100% attacking in with both creatures there. If my opponent takes a trade for either one of these, I am ecstatic. Opponent did not do it. So Elves is like a real 30-70 matchup. Not like when people say, oh, that's a bad matchup. It's probably like 70-30. It's like, no, like really I win this matchup like 30% of the time or less. It's very difficult. Yeah, I've been super impressed with Selfless Spirit. Like, it's a wonderful card right here because it's letting me like aggressively connect with Jitte here, which is great, assuming I get another turn. Which, you know, no promises. Even if I connect with Jitte and kill 2 of their guys, there's still no guarantee that I make it around the table again. Because this matchup is terrifying. I guess I can go ahead and F6 at this point. It's not like any of my guys are getting destroyed. So if we make it around the table and we get to connect with Jitte, we'll kill Wirewood Symbiote since it bounces all the rest of them. And then we'll probably kill Heritage Druid. It gives my opponent the most mana for their buck. Awkwardly enough, you know, when we make it around the table, if we do so, The opponent might just be able to go wide enough if they just keep drawing into infinite Elvish Visionaries here, that it doesn't matter. Is this your worst tier 1 or close to it matchup? Yes, by an order of magnitude. This is D&T's only, like, really, really bad common matchup. You can have that 1 point of damage, sir. Or madam. Whatever this delta is. So we kill Wirewood. My opponent may bounce a Visionary in response. Depends on whether or not they have, like, a Cradle in their hand. Alright. They do. They do bounce, not necessarily that they do have a Cradle. And then we'll remove a Heritage Druid now. My opponent can still just go, like, Cradle, Natural Order, kill me. But, you know, that's always life. Opponent making a very, very nice micro play of, like, managing their untaps and mana efficiently so that they gain 2 life. You know, probably not going to matter. You know, either I mow them down with this Jitte over the next 2 turns, or I get Natural Ordered and die. Like, those are the 2 outcomes of this game at this point. Yeah, opponent didn't play a Cradle, so that's a great start. What are you doing making that attack? That's a terrible attack. That's right, get back. Whew! I accept this draw. Now I need to think for a moment. I probably want to remove bodies now for Gaia's Cradle reasons. I'll definitely remove Quirion Ranger. And then I guess that makes my only other option either kill a Visionary or hold the counter. If I hold the counter, I can stop something like a Heritage Druid going down and a potential Glimpse chain. Probably won't be wastelanding my opponent since they have double Deathrite Shaman. Probably will be porting my opponent. Let's do the play that 100% happens. Remove Quirion Ranger. So my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana if they play Gaia's Cradle, which is exactly enough to hardcast a Craterhoof. Keeping that in mind, I can keep them off of hardcasting Craterhoof if I remove a Visionary. Or sorry, I guess if I'm porting them, and maybe I should just be porting them twice. I'm going to play the other port. So I can go port, port, kill a Visionary, that still leaves them with enough mana in natural order. This Batterskull's, like... I kind of want to put the Batterskull in play, but just porting them is probably better, and then just, like... Yeah. Yeah. Talked myself into it. And I'm going to leave the other counter. You can eat things with Deathrite Shaman if you want here. So stop on your draw step since you want to get cheeky with me and float mana. Opponent just scoops it up. Yeah, I agree. I can't beat the natural order, so I just double port. I came to the same conclusion. Yeah, Selfless Spirit has been doing a lot of work. I might need to test this card more. I wanted to test it because, like, of the reasons we outlined last night. But like it was good in the modern version of the deck, so why not try it in Legacy? It feels like it's doing a weird role filling position. All right, so Revoker, yes. Containment Priest, Canonist, yes. Recruiter to find them, maybe. Path to Exiles as additional spot removal, maybe. P&K, out. Too slow. Thalia's out. Not taxing enough. Magus of the Moon, awkward. It's really good against Gaia's Cradle, and they don't actually have that many mana sources that are like actually forests, despite being a mono green deck. There's like a ton of bayous, a ton of fetch lands, the Cradles, the Pendle Havens, the Cavern of Souls. So Magus of the Moon can mise some wins. Is there any way to reduce the chat delay? I have not figured out how to do so if there is. If anyone knows about that, I would love to hear it. Because it's a little ridiculous. Maybe this is a play-draw thing, where on the... Like, I don't love Path to Exile. Pointing it at Wirewood Symbiote is really important, though, to stop the Elvish Visionary chains. But I don't really want to path very many of their other creatures. Well, let's run it like this. We'll keep this one. This one has a chain of Play Vile, Revoke, probably Heritage Druid or Wirewood Symbiote, Naturally Cast Recruiter. Still have Magus in the deck, but I have Cavern to cast it. Naturally Cast Recruiter, probably get Containment Priest or Aethersworn Canonist. Dryad Arbor. We might see like some Quirion Ranger shenanigans this turn then. Or alternatively, it's just to get one more mana off of Gaia's Cradle. We'll find out. Yes, I'm using OBS. Alright, opponent has a bit of a weak start. That's awesome for us. Selfless Spirit, we can't lose. um, Given that I don't know what I want to revoke yet, I think I just want to knock them off of mana and see if we can make them stumble. Yeah, it is possible I want to go with the additional removal on the draw. I could agree with that. Oh, I forgot about that. Trimming Batterskull's reasonable, but when they're just trying to like go wide and kill you via aggro instead of like with a Glimpse Chain or a big Crater Hoof or Natural Order, having the Batterskull to help stabilize can be important. Like, I used to cut Batterskull, but I'm not anymore. Alright. So we stopped the Wirewood shenanigans. We play a Canonist to prevent multiple spells coming out. Things are looking good. We'll see if they remain looking good. Beginning next turn, we'll have Selfless Spirit as protection for Abrupt Decay or Reclamation Sage, which is awesome. I can also have the line of, like, Recruiter of the Guard for Containment Priest at instant speed up, and I'll probably hold that up instead of Selfless Spirit. Julian said Canonist is the strongest card against them, so clearly we can't lose. All right, we'll yell at Julian if he's wrong and we still lose somehow. All right. If I cast Selfless Spirit right now and my opponent has Abrupt Decay, they can Abrupt Decay one of these targets, and I can just save it with Flicker Wisp. So I think I'm going to play the Selfless Spirit here, and then Recruiter of the Guard end of turn for Priest. Have Priest up for the rest of the game, but not put it in until I absolutely need to. Believe that is my line. And I don't think I want to start attacking yet. Yeah, giving them a forest is rough. If we look at the game state right now, if I have a Path to Exile, then I am still giving them a land. So, like, it is a very real cost. It is not as free as people might think. Would I just play Priest to stop Dryad Arbor from being played? So, like, if they fetch and I flash in Containment Priest, they just get a Forest instead. Like, that's a minimal upside play. Hardcast Craterhoof. Okay. I can blink out one of these creatures, and then my opponent has 5. They can return a forest, untap Dryad Arbor. 25, 26, 27, dead. That's unfortunate. Okay. Basically nothing we could have done to beat that. Julian has indeed lied to us. Alright. So we were on the draw and we lost. So game 1, steal win with Jitte. And Selfless Spirit. Game 2, lost to Hardcast Hoof. Would I like to play first? Yes. Would I like to keep? Yes. I'll be on the play for this one. I should have played Plateau first to not put a fetch land into the graveyard for Dryad or for Deathrite Shaman purposes. They have Trample. That's the issue there. So we're not actually just still alive. And they have more than enough trample damage to like get past my like 3 points of toughness that I have on board. Alright, this is a really aggressive start. I go ahead and wasteland them and hold up Swords to Plowshares. I'd like to get a better elf than Nettle Sentinel. The only way this is punished is if Cradle is their only land. Which it is not. Second Nettle Sentinel. At this point, I will go ahead and remove the first. Just for mana, like tempo reasons. Oh, Zach, thank you for that. I'm going to just copy that onto a note on my laptop here, and I'll look at that again in a bit. Alright, we'll get a Jitte, and when they put in a creature with an activated ability, we'll slam the Revoker. Otherwise, the Revoker will just preemptively name Wirewood Symbiote or Heritage Druid at end of turn if they don't play either. Elvish Visionary. You bet. I think I care about Heritage Druid causing them to combo off on the next turn more than anything else. Holy shit. That's insane. So we get to destroy this Pendelhaven, pass the turn with Jitte activation put in Crusader, or Containment Priest off Recruiter of the Guard as our 2 lines. That's stupid. We might get this one, chat. We might do it. Alright, so opponent needs to have Abrupt Decay, or they're dead. Well, we're not going for it, you know? Alright, they've got the Abrupt Decay. It's not over. Getting home from class, how's it going? Very well. Selfless Spirit is bros. Currently 2-0. We're in striking distance of taking this one down. It's an interesting attack. I can put in Recruiter for Recruiter, block with Recruiter and Stoneforge, trade my Stoneforge body for Nettle Sentinel, and kind of punish that. Which I think I like. Just, like, keeping up bodies off of my opponent's board will stop them from, like, just producing a shit ton of mana with Cradle. Whew! Whew! That's good. If they just go land, natural order, that's 5, 6, 7, plus 9. It's not actually lethal damage, just stings a shit ton. I can just, like, play Canonist, hold up Recruiter, which is probably just better than just something like play Recruiter, get Flicker Wisp, Recruiter, get another Flicker Wisp. Is that a lethal line, though, the next turn? That would produce 7 power in the air. No, that's not a lethal line. So we'll just play the Canonist. So a Recruiter for Flicker Wisp a Recruiter, get Containment Priest. Green Sun for X equals 3, that'll get a Rec Sage. Sure. What would you like to blow up with that? You have so many targets. Targeting Canonist. Okay. If my opponent wanted to get rid of the Canonist that badly, maybe I should get another Canonist rather than Flicker Wisps. So I have my opponent dead in 2 to 3 shots. I'm just going to get another Canonist. In order for the Mirran Crusader to be lethal next turn, I need to do 2 damage. So I am going to make an attack with the Revoker as well. So now the Crusader is lethal on its own, which is what I wanted. In order for my opponent to win, they have to Abrupt Decay, Canonist, and then go off and kill me this turn. If they can accomplish that, good on them. They cannot. They just died. Is it happening? Is it happening? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why not Wisp? Wisp. Recruiter for Canonist. I have... At the time, I had 3 mana, Vial on 3. So if I get Wisp, that doesn't actually work because I can't just cast it on my main phase. And I'm going to give us a whole bunch of emotes there because we deserve it. We beat Elves. We did it, chat. All right. So game 3, win with Crusader and lots of disruption. So, like, let's just look at our graveyard here. To review, we wasted our opponent twice, Swords to Plowshared them, they beat a Jitte, a Canonist, and a Revoker. And it was still probably pretty close. That should give you an indication of how difficult this matchup is. You know, we had everything we could possibly want, and it still was tricky. Next up, Snowball's thriving in hell. Exactly. Okay, chat, I'm going to take 30 seconds and run to the restroom before this next match. For those of you that are asking about it, here is the deck list featuring Selfless Spirit. If you have any questions, please throw it in the chat, and then I'll get right back to you. Is Selfless Spirit still in Standard? What's his squid symbol? Let's be frank. I don't know what's going on in Standard. I have no idea. I don't know which sets are legal. I don't care. For me, Magic is Legacy. I think this is the best format, not close. It's super interactive, super interesting, lots of decision trees. Me either, that's why I ask. Well-informed chat we have, full of Legacy enthusiasts. Alright, want another die roll. Hand looks amazing. It looks like my opponent is a 4-color control player. We'll keep this, see if we can get an absolutely savage Ether Vial blowout at some point this game, with the whole Selfless Spirit shenanigans. Pauper's fun. I haven't played in literal years and years and years. But I really enjoyed the mono black deck. Probably should have let on Caracas to hide Blood Moon information. What about Vintage? Vintage is fine. But that's what I like to say about it. It's fine. It's an interesting format, but I think Vintage has a number of issues with power level and such. There's a lot of really broken starts where one player or the other doesn't get to play. And I know that that happens a lot less frequently than a lot of people think it does, but it still happens a lot, right? Like, the Shops decks just have openers that are unbeatable. You know, the Oath decks can just, you know, have it all on turn 1. There are a lot of cool interactive games in Vintage that feature really cool wars on the stack. Those are great. And I quite enjoy those, but every deck that I've liked in Vintage keeps getting parts restricted from it. I don't love that. Yeah, we're playing against Pile. Probably just gonna get, like, my Batterskull K commanded. Oh, I'm not. Hot diggity dog. Oh yeah, we've already won this game. My opponent just doesn't know it yet. I'm gonna leave this at 2 for the time being. Super rewarded. Death! The Batterskull Germ token on its own is a 3-turn clock, but because I have more creatures, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot the Baleful Strix so that my other friends can get through. They want to come to the party. You know, like Toxic Deluge me for 6. Hey, I'm going to make my creatures indestructible. Ho-ho! I've done it! I've saved them from the board wipe! Aww, that's not how magic cards work. Selfless Spirit, you tried. Good job, buddy. We'll let my friend Phyrexian Revoker clean up, though. Got him! Got him! We got the Abandoned Hope value, too, which I appreciate. Alright. So that was Czech Pile on the play. It was Czech Pile on the play, and we just obliterated them. Alright. So versus Pelinic. Game 1, get super aggressive. Vile hand with Stoneforge. Alright. That easy. Let's go to sideboard. P and K. Great. Rips probably want 2, maybe not 3. Recruiter, yes. Cataclysm, yes. Alright, what's coming out? Swords to Plowshares out. And Revokers out. They're not really reliable in this matchup. I'm just going to do a quick check to see if there's anything else I want in the deck less than another Rest in Peace. And I don't believe that there is. Yeah, my opponent drew all those cards with Night's Whisper. It did a lot of good. Drew another card with Baleful Strix, you know? Did a lot of good. Drawing cards is how you win games of Magic, right? So he was clearly winning. Have you tested out Direfleet Daredevil at all? Just curious why you didn't include it in your list. We'll be keeping this hand. It has some sweet cards. I'm going to send you a link to my data on Direfleet Daredevil. I wrote a big, long article all about it. There is my link for the Direfleet Daredevil article. It has all of my thoughts and my data on it. You know, you don't have to read that right now or anything. We'll call it homework. Oh, well, if you're the D&T newbie, boy, is that site gonna have lots of things for you to enjoy. There's like a novel worth of stuff there. I update it very, very regularly. Most recent update was a large article on how to mulligan properly. Quite happy if my opponent spends their turn pondering in the face of my wasteland. Oh, well, congrats. Welcome to D&T. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome deck. It's very strong. If I play this Selfless Spirit, I have a way to protect Thalia, which I think I really want to do. I think that is about as good as porting my opponent off of their swamp. Like, my plan from here on out is wasteland any non-basic land they play and port them. If they don't play a non-basic land, I'll probably take a turn off to resolve the rest in peace before, like, Snapcaster removal spell is a live line. Thoughts on Blessed Alliance in the sideboard? 100% playable. Has its own set of strengths and weaknesses. Like, it's a card that can go and answer a True Name Nemesis, which is awesome. It is a little bit awkward, admittedly. Like, sometimes your opponent will have, like, True Name Nemesis and Young Pyromancer, and that's a non-bow. But there are a lot of spots where, like, having a mix of Blessed Alliance and Path to Exile is better than just having 3 Path to Exiles. Opponent having to think long and hard about this Rest in Peace here. And it warrants the Force of Will, which might also keep them from doing whatever else they wanted to do with their mana. Force of Will pitching a Snapcaster Mage. Deal. Oh yeah, like, answering a Merit Lodge without giving your opponent 20 life is sweet, but that's something that Path to Exile already does. Alright, sure, you hit in there with your Baleful Strix, that's fine. I will take that damage. That probably just means you're going to play another Baleful Strix here. Or a Deluge for 1. No! No! Thalia is indestructible! Can't be... Ah! Ah! There is some desire to just resolve Cataclysm and take out 3 of their lands here. If they have, like, a Deathrite Shaman left over, that'd be super awkward, though. Woo! Raking in them bits tonight with those sweet, value-oriented plays. I can just wasteland my opponent, play a Stoneforge or a Recruiter. Is 3 lands enough value for a Cataclysm? I'd probably resolve since my opponent forced on the previous turn. But they forced in order to protect their graveyard. Ha! Take another one. Whew. Love them bits. I'd probably just win this game in the long term if my opponent loses 3 lands. But they can keep, like, an island to ponder or a swamp to play a Deathrite Shaman, so that's super awkward. How many times has he fetched? He's only fetched once. I don't think I'm going to Cataclysm yet. I think I have enough going on with my mana that I'm okay with, like, just using my mana for a few turns, getting a sword into play, and then Cataclysming. I can still keep my opponent pretty off balance in terms of mana with what I have. You would recruit her? Well, what would you recruit her for? That's the follow-up question there. Would you get P and K if we're gonna Cataclysm? Now if I rip another land, I'll Cataclysm for sure. I thought I was going to have a Revoker. I forgot I boarded them all out. Guess I'll get... I guess I get P and K in case the Cataclysm doesn't resolve. Or I can just get Mom to prevent Jace bounce for the rest of the game. Which I think is fine. That gives me 2 plays next turn if I miss on the land for Cataclysm. Alright, opponent's lots of cards. I gave my opponent the chance to draw a bunch of counter spells. So I don't think I'm going to deploy Cataclysm yet. I'm going to just set myself up to make my Cataclysm better. and bait out any counter spells this turn. Like, this is good enough to get another force from my opponent if they have it. I took my Cataclysms out from the board a while back. You think they're still good enough to run in mono white? I would run either Cataclysm or Gideon. Both are very strong, very good options. Now we'll run the Stoneforge Mystic out there because it's a cantripping creature, and if we end up cataclysming it away, we don't care. We'll get Batterskull as it represents a body. Lightning Bolt the Stoneforge. Sure thing. Show me another removal spell for this, or Jace dies. Murderous Cut. Alright. I accept. Now you have one card. Guess what's resolving? It's Cataclysm! I will keep this plateau. What would you like to keep? End step top, if you're curious about my thoughts on Gideon versus Cataclysm, on my FAQ page on my website, I have my thoughts up there. Yet another cantripping Stoneforge Mystic. Spell Snare. Neato. Opponent fetching to marginally thin. And we'll attack with Mom here. Opponent is on no cards. They are at 7 life. If my opponent trades a removal spell for Mom, I literally do not care. Yep, don't care. Oh, you were advocating for Ravages of War over either. Okay, sure. Alright, we will put opponent dead next turn. Opponent probably does not run Wastelands since we saw 3 basics from them. And we win! Yay! Game 2 result, win! Game 2. Wreck House with Cataclysm. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Vaporkin, MVP. But what if I want to see Phil paired against Elves? Thank you very much. We already beat Elves once today. I don't want to have to do it again to go 5-0 in this league with Selfless Spirit in my deck and get this pile published. But, you know, we'll see what happens. Cataclysm kills grindy decks confirmed. Yeah, funny how that works. You know, truth be told, I haven't been boarding Cataclysm in versus lands most of the time. As blasphemous as that sounds. I'm not convinced that it's good. At least in the red-white version, where like you can just end games with Magus. If you don't have a Rest in Peace in play, then Cataclysm is not the greatest. Like, they can just rebuild with Loam very, very quickly, especially if they have Exploration. Can I see the list you're on, the red-white? It's the normal red-white build that I normally play that's linked below the stream, except we took out the Wingmares for Selfless Spirits and put in a Mirran Crusader over that last Wingmare, and we filled the random sideboard slot that was the Crusader with Revoker. So this seems really good. Selfless Spirit has been great tonight. I don't know if it's better than Wingmare, but it's definitely good enough to warrant more testing. And, like, I actually mean that Selfless Spirit has been good, not just like me trolling and sacrificing Selfless Spirit in response to Toxic Deluge 2 or 3 times. It's done a lot of work at filling the aggressive 2-drop slot that was previously filled by Sarah Avenger. Yes, Splendid Daddy, 3 Caracas is the industry standard. You will occasionally see someone playing 2 if they're playing like a 3-color deck that also splashes Orzhov Pontiff, but 3 is very, very, very normal. So there are reasons to go above or below 3 Caracas, but they are stretches, and you have to be making weird deck building decisions in order to justify that. Like, I've run 4 Caracas before in, like, a 4x, this is a stinker. This is going back no matter what. This one I'll probably be keeping no matter what. Let's see if I have data on my opponent. I don't recognize the name. Opponent doesn't have a lot of data for Legacy here. None, in fact. I'll keep this hand. That land can go to the bottom. We'll lead on Plains, Aether Vial, and hope that's a good start. We'll be on the draw for this one versus CS Pickle. Is this lands? Is this Agrolum? Alright, Zach, you get your wish. Here's the lands matchup you wanted to see. Fuck. Gamble for life from the Loam on turn 1 with Exploration. And discarding it so he gets to dredge and look at more lands. That's bad. I can try to port my opponent and hope that they don't have another land to cast life from the Loam. But that's a pretty anemic line if they do have it. Seems like a mediocre turn 1. Could have been better. Could have also had 2 Mox Diamonds. Final boss is lands, yeah. So, like, you say it seems decent, but they're on their, like, best possible game 1 opener here. Like, sans multiple Mox Diamonds, you know, Exploration and Life from the Loam is crazy good. So now they get back, like, Waste Depths and Like, all our lands forever just die. That's okay. We usually get games 2 and 3 against lands anyway, once we have a bunch of Rest in Peace. Them getting Maze of Ith is rough here. Alright, Wasteland my land. Come at me. Give them the old pump fake. See if they flinch. They did not flinch. So this will be a wasteland now. Yep. Since we're never going to be able to play a 3-drop that we draw, I'm just going to go ahead and tick this up to 3. Basic Plains was a great draw. Alright, do you have the Grove? Don't have the Grove, too. Crop rotation into Thespian stage, produce Merit Lodge block. You won't. Fuck, it's happening. Yep. Opponent has big ol' balls. Not caring about Flicker Wisp at all. I would not have made that play if I were them. Just wanted to scare him. We're dead. Didn't work. Alright. Game 1 loss to turn 4. Turn 4 Merit Lodge attack. We weren't going anywhere with this. Like, so if you think I conceded early, they get to produce Merit Lodge every turn for the rest of the game. So I get to Caracas this once, and then I have to, like, try to beat all the rest of their stuff. It's not happening. Alright. So, in paths. In probably Relic Warder. Maybe Cataclysm. Definitely Recruiter. Definitely Rest in Peace. What comes out? Crusader doesn't need to be here. Revoker's pretty unreliable. I'll probably trim some number of Swords to Plowshares. P and K is absurdly difficult to cast. Since this build has the Spirits and the Flex slots, and those protect from Punishing Fire, I'm a little lighter on cards that I want to remove than normal. So maybe I'll remove one Swords to Plowshares and then the Jitte. Actually, maybe removing the Batterskull's better. Like, the Batterskull lives through a Punishing Fire activation, but the Jitte, when equipped on an aggressive creature like Selfless Spirit, closes the game a little bit quicker. It's kind of a wash. Snapkeep. We need a red source, but we have double Magus. We'll draw one. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, chat. We get 2 draws to hit a red source to probably spike this game. And we have Port and Wasteland to slow my opponent down, maybe. Opponent mulligans. Alright. So my opponent mulliganed. I can just Wasteland this Taiga and see if, like, Wasteland followed by Wasteland locks them out of this game. It is very possible that I just knock them off of green or red mana. My alternative is just cast a Stoneforge. It's unfortunate that the Magus is no longer the game-ending play. So the game-ending play is now put Sword of Fire and Ice on Magus. That's going to require a lot more mana. Maybe I should just start setting up for that now. Because that needs to be a 5-mana turn where I go, like, play Magus and equip with the sword already in play. Well, don't have crop rotation. Woo! This is a weird way to win a game versus lands. I mean, it's working. Just porting my opponent and keeping them from casting a life from the loam is probably better than playing a Stoneforge. As soon as I rip a red land and slam Magus, this game is basically over. Alright, that's annoying. I guess I pay for Mom. At this point, since this Mom is probably not long for this world, I'm going to go ahead and crash in and expose it to Molten Vortex. That's fine. Alright, opponent gets to break free from the chokehold, so they get Thicket, Taiga, Canopy. I'm going to let the Mom go and try to spike a Rest in Peace this turn. I think. The Mom's not doing a ton anymore. I'm choked on mana. My opponent will probably get to start wastelanding me pretty soon. So my opportunities to resolve either Magus or Loam are very, very few. Or excuse me, Rest in Peace. The Mom is just gonna die to Vortex activation anyway at some point. I want to prevent this. No. Alright, we miss. Again, playing creatures doesn't do a lot. I just need to rip a Rest in Peace. We'll port down this Grove. Alright, they now have Wasteland. Alright, well, we drew a land. Drawing a land is great. Kind of. If I just slam Magus, it just dies to Tabernacle, tap, Molten Vortex. So that's not good enough here. So I need to put this sword into play in hopes that I can equip something later. Again, need a Rest in Peace or this game is over. And need it quickly. Needed it a few turns ago. Opponent also has Punishing Fire now, so really, really need that Rest in Peace. Alright, Tireless Tracker, annoying, but not the end of the world. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Aether Vial is acceptable. So now we're at the point where we need to draw land plus Rest in Peace to get anywhere, before this Tireless Tracker just kills us. And that gets out of control more quickly than you might imagine. My opponent should probably just start taking draw steps to try to find an exploration. Second Vial. I accept. Weathered Wayfarer one time. We'll just pretend that that wouldn't fall to the Molten Vortex. Just need one activation. We're playing Stoneforge to thin our deck here. Opponent should just, like, huck a land at this right now so they don't block. So I'm just trying to, like, stay alive until these Aether Vials tick up. No, Relic Order's tutorable. Being tutorable is super important. There's a reason why you haven't seen anyone play an E-Tutor build in like 3 years. The card disadvantage is really bad in a deck that is already kind of lacking in card advantage. I'm just playing the Stoneforge Mystic out as a chump blocker if my opponent will allow that. That's fine. E-Tutor wouldn't really be a good draw at this point. Like, I E-Tutor for Rest in Peace, put Rest in Peace on top of my deck, draw Rest in Peace, and in the meantime, the Tracker's killed me. Like, I don't have time to E-Tutor. Oh, geez. Gambling. This just probably, like, goes for Dark Depths to just, like, put the nail in the coffin. Caracas. That's not what they gambled for. Oh, no, they're just going for the exploration. That makes sense. I've been talking about it for, like, 87 turns, so why wouldn't they? Alright, fine, I give up. I'm just gonna always yield to that. Let's see if we can win this game. In order to win this game, I need my opponent to mess up. Oh man, they messed up and left the Punishing Fire in the graveyard. That's a mountain. Second Punishing Fire. Get wrecked. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. That was the only way we could possibly win there. That's still worth 8 chests and a bunch of play points, so that's A-okay with me. Like, we've got to try, right? Alright, so loss there. So game 2, lost to Molten Vortex after losing Mana War off Triple Wasteland. So let's kind of debrief that game. Long-term, wastelanding lands is not a winning proposition. What I was trying to do was put my opponent in a situation where I get to resolve a critical card that stops their deck. And so I was using my wastelands for tempo reasons, rather than just, like, treating it strictly as sorry, I just noticed an error. Rather than treating it strictly as, like, a long-term game plan. Never lucky. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, we had a lot of draws to just win that game in the early game. Like, drawing one of our 3 Rest in Pieces closes the game. Drawing a red source earlier to slam Magus with Mom Protection wins the game. So I was drawing to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I was drawing to like 14 outs to just absolutely close the game, with Thalia's being another reasonable card that would go and buy time. So I don't regret taking the line I took. It just did not work out. Yeah, so Cyan, I think I think Enlightened Tutor is not particularly playable right now. The metagame as a whole is such that there are very, very few combo decks. Like, if we look at the biggest portions of the metagame, it's like Delver, Czech Pile, followed by, like, Death and Taxes, like, Miracles, Eldrazi, and then, like, of combo decks, only Sneak and Show and Storm are super popular right now, with, like, Reanimator maybe being at, like, 3 or 4% beyond that. So I don't think this is a good time to play Enlightened Tutor. Legacy's too fair right now, largely, you know, due to Deathrite Shaman just kind of solidifying deck into, like, Brainstorm, or the format into, like, Brainstorm, Ponder, Deathrite mid-range decks. Alright, so Verdict on Selfless Spirit. you know, we went 4-1 with it. It seemed pretty good. I will continue to test this card. I might try it out again sometime soon. I had a donor donate to make me do another stream with the Sarah Avenger build of D&T. So you will see me again tomorrow night at about 7 o'clock Eastern to go and do that build. That's not one of my normal times, but you know, when people want to see me and they want to support me, I'm happy to make more content. So again, I just want to go through a couple of things I said at the beginning of the stream. The Mulligan article is up. I want to thank Leah M. and William S. for their respective donations and supporting my site. And the Affinity or Steel Stompy primer is currently going as well. All right, that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for joining me. I'll stick around in the chat for a couple of minutes. Feel free to type questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and host another Legacy streamer. Good evening. See you soon.